In the mid-2000s, there wasn't any other brand quite like Alienware. Around the time that Microsoft was developing what would now be referred to as the Fruta design language, which is one that combines biological life elements from Earth with a sort of futuristic and utopian aesthetic, Alienware decided that they wanted to stick to that design language whilst appealing to gamers. To do so, they invented what is now referred to as Dark Fruta. This takes the exact same concept of combining biology and technology into one sort of utopian look, but instead of the biological life being from Earth, instead uses life from outer space. They had an entirely unique aesthetic that nobody else was really doing, and it was really obvious to see why this captivated so many people, especially kids and young adults at the time. I remember I was obsessed with this brand growing up. My older cousin who got me into World of Warcraft had an Alienware Area 51 in bright green, and I remember going to his house and just watching him play World of Warcraft, doing raids and just looking at that PC case and just being absolutely enamored by it. So as I got older, I tried to always keep my eye open in case I would ever see one of these cases for sale or one of these old computers or laptops for sale, because I just love this look. I will be making a video about this design language and how Alienware's design language has kind of fallen off over the years, but there was definitely a sweet spot in around 2006 to 7 where they had this perfected design. Every time I tried to get hold of one of these Area 51 cases, they were at least £200 to £300, and if I could find anyone that was cheaper than that, nobody ever wanted to mail it to me. I'd always ask them, hey, can I cover shipping? And they'd be like, no, sorry, collection only, because they are incredibly heavy. That wasn't until recently I found a really sweet elderly lady on Facebook who was getting rid of a bunch of her son's things, and she was selling an Alienware Area 51 2006 case for £50. Not only that, but when I said to her, hey, can I come over to your side to pick it up? She was like, it's fine, I'm coming down your direction anyway, I will just bring it by. So she literally brought it all the way to my doorstep. And so for £50, I finally got the case of my dreams. Now, one thing that the Alienware PCs at that time did that nobody else was doing was addressable RGB lighting. Given it's from 2006, I was not expecting an RGB header that I could just plug into my motherboard. I definitely knew that I would need to mod this case at least a little bit. So the first thing I did was take the case apart and try to understand how the RGB worked.
Okay, so I have the case like this, and all of the RGB headers look like this. I've tried to look online to see if I can find out like what these represent. So you see they're all numbered, right? LED 18, this one is LED 17, and so on. But I noticed there's no LED 1. They don't count from 1. One thing I've noticed is if you look down here, this is all gonna light up. So like these will light up, this lights up, this face, and then in here there's lights at the top. I don't know where the rest of them are. I think there's lights here as well. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by splicing some cables. I'm going to cut these so I just have bare wire. Then I'm just going to solder those ends to this in what I assume is the correct order. If we can get some lights working, then we know what we're working with. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Okay, so with these bare, I should be able to just solder directly to these. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna solder everything to this in order. I don't really care about how it's gonna fit inside the PC. And then I'm just gonna see if I can get it to light up. If I can, then I know that this will work. Okay, so I don't have all of them soldered. I have like 3. So now let's test it. So this is our RGB header coming from my motherboard. So let's try it. Okay, nothing is lighting up. All right, let's just test it the other way. Like, I mean, it's not standard at all. Oh, guys, the alien. Oh my god. No way. I can't believe this works. I just cannot believe that this works. I guess technically, if you think about it, all an RGB header is just power and then the 3 colors. It works. So let's finish soldering the rest of this. Okay, so these ones, which are for a lot of the stuff on the front, are way too short. So I'm gonna need to extend them with their own wire, but knowing that this works is crazy. Let's finish soldering these up. These 2 should be fine. Then there's 3 more which I will need to extend. And then the case will be ready for me to build in, which is kind of nuts to think about. So this 1394 header is the exact same pinout as a USB header. So I'm just going to plug it into USB and see what happens. And then this one has, I think this is the pinout for HD audio, but then I'm really curious what this other USB header is. Oh, actually, you know what this probably is? This has a FireWire port on the front. That's probably a FireWire internal USB, which is crazy. I'm now thinking, is this side panel even going to be able to close with this on? I don't think it's any further out than any of these, which were on here already, but I hope it doesn't. And I also hope it doesn't short them. I might need to cover these with like electrical tape or something so that the panel doesn't short it. Okay, it's 2:23 a.m. I've just finished soldering everything. This is probably the worst soldering I've ever done. However, I'm pretty sure it's all gonna work. These are being held here with washi tape and brown tape for now, but I will replace this all with electrical tape and like shrink tubing. So I should just be able to control everything with RGB Fusion, which is what my motherboard uses for RGB. I wasn't expecting it to be this easy, that I could just plug them all into a controller, plug the controller into the motherboard and it should just work. But I mean, at the end of the day, they are just LEDs with 4 pins. So there's not really that much to mess up. So that is a nice amount of blue I am seeing, which matches up with what we have in the software. So technically, if I just change any of these, the primary colors should all work. So like if I just do like blue should work. I wonder what white looks like. Okay, white looks a little bit green. Red looks really nice, blue looks really nice. Purple looks really cool. But man, look how cool this is. So you have LEDs for all of your ports. You have LEDs here. So like you can see there's like lights here for the drives, which is like such a nice thing to have. If you can imagine like being a gamer in 2004 and burning CDs in the middle of the night and opening it up and being able to see the drive. I think that's such a nice thing to have in a case. And I feel like modern cases are not designed even remotely near what this is, you know? Okay, so that's where I'm leaving it for today. I'm gonna go to bed and continue this tomorrow, but yeah, LEDs are working, that's the most important part. I've swapped over the LED on the side panel and I'm gonna finish wiring that up when I build the PC. But I'm really excited to put this together. This is gonna be really fun. Okay, so this is my current setup. So I did make a video building this PC. If you'd like to check that out, I will leave a link to that. And with it, I'm using a Time Beige CRT monitor. But I thought to go with the Alienware, I think what would be really nice is the black Dell, as this would be, honestly, if you were a competitive gamer playing on PC around 2006, 2008, this is like exactly what you would have been using. And then once we've got an empty table, we can start getting to work. All right, so all of the parts are free and they're ready to go inside of the Alienware. So the parts we currently have is a B450M D3SH V2. I'm pretty sure it's a motherboard by Gigabyte. It has a Western Digital 1TB blue, 32 gigabytes of 3200 RAM, and then I have a 5800X. This is the stock cooler. I just cannot even be bothered to attempt to try and fit a AIO cooler in this. I don't know where I would put it. I don't even really know about where fans can go in this. We need to start getting this stuff inside of the Alienware. Okay, we have a lot of room actually, considering this is an M-ATX board in an ATX case. Right, first of all, USB. That one is keyed, which means it can go in there. This one is keyed like HD audio, which would be there. Okay, and then this one is keyed like USB again. So let's just plug it in where the USB is and see what that does. And then this is the power switch, which goes here. Right, okay. That should be good. Okay, power supply is in. There's a bit of a gap, but it is in and it is stable, which is fine. I think what I'll probably end up doing is I'll see if I can 3D print some sort of adapter. But I think what has happened is the previous owner has taken the power supply out with that bracket, thinking that they go together, but there actually is part of this case. But that's fine. As long as the power supply is in, it's not going anywhere, so I think that's honestly fine by me. And now that we have the case upright, we can plug the RGB header into the controller so that it all works. actually have no idea how I'm gonna route any of these cables. There's like nowhere I can really hide them. 4080 Super by MSI. Let's plug it in. But let's just get everything all plugged in properly. Then these two can go into the SSDs. Again, they don't really have anywhere to go. I think I'm literally just gonna have to find a place for them. What I really need is an adapter so that they can go into these. I think I can 3D print one, which won't be too bad. Okay, if I've wired everything up correctly, I should press this alien button and it should turn on. So here goes. Okay, I was scared for a minute, but it's all lighting up. Okay, nice. Nice. So this all lights up. Okay, so this is the LED for the side panel, which is nice that it just comes off because that means I can solder it without the whole side panel dangling. Is I just cut the ends of these off and then I solder these wires directly to the controller and it just seems to work, which is just kind of nuts. Here's the connector. We're just gonna cut this. Okay, so these are our wires, so obviously red, green, and blue, and then this is our power. So now I just need to strip these wires. I think I'm gonna do it on this one that's over here. So yeah, that's green like the rest of it. I know on camera it looks very yellow. In real life, this is green. So yeah, we can actually put the side panel back on. This can just slot into here. Right, so that's the light in the side panel. Should be able to just put this on. Okay, side panel is closed and I mean, everything shuts fine. The door works. Let's just see if it lights up again. Oh my God, that's so nice. It's so beautiful. Like, I can't explain how nice this is. This is like exactly, I wanted this PC for years when I was a little kid. This was the PC I wanted more than anything else. Guys, it's all complete and I'm so happy with it. I mean, I can't explain to you how crazy this feels to just look at my desk and see this. This is exactly how I remember gaming setups looking when I was a kid. And that's exactly what I want to see on my desk. Like, I cannot explain how amazing this makes me feel to just see this. I couldn't be happy with the PC. All of the lights work on the case. We've even got the lights in here all working. All the ports work. The headphone works. I was just testing it. And I think, honestly, the Dell CRT was the right pick. I cannot explain how amazing it is to see this.